Yeah! And be free. You look back at the season from hell that the Fever had. None of us expected them to be in this situation. None of us expected them to be winning a very close game 3.
Guess what? Caitlin Clark just flipped the entire narrative on her doubters and every so-called expert who counted her out. A Fever insider just dropped a bomb. Clark is now 100% recovered from that groin injury. And here's the wild part. The Indiana Fever are officially heading to the WNBA Finals, and Clark herself confirmed she's shooting up. Yes, you heard that right. She's back. This isn't just big news. It's a total game changer that puts the whole league on high alert. Now the real question is, if you were Indiana's coach, would you take the risk and unleash Caitlin Clark in the finals?
When she does come back, do you feel like?
I would not want to play the Indiana Fever, especially with a healthy Caitlin. I mean, that building, I got a little taste of it last year. And doing the Final Four, shows when she's on the court, when someone can really change the game in a couple moments like she can. She could be quiet for 10 minutes and then pop, pop, pop. It's 4 threes and the game's out of reach. And I think what the Fever are doing without her, that's going to help them in the future too, knowing that they can win a game when she's not on the court or she's not, at her best. So yeah, that Fever team, I would not want to play them with a healthy team.
Let's be real. The Indiana Fever were never supposed to be here. Not this year. Not with all the injuries, a roster this young, and every analyst saying the same thing. They just need more time. At best, the so-called experts gave them fringe playoff hopes. And when Caitlin Clark went down with that groin injury, forget it. Most people didn't even bother writing them off. They slammed the book shut. But guess what? The Fever never got the memo. Instead of folding, they battled through the toughest stretch of the season. Aliyah Boston turned the paint into her personal kingdom, looking every bit like her South Carolina days. Kelsey Mitchell lived up to her Money Mitch nickname, draining clutch jumpers when everything was on the line. And Odyssey Sims, she played like this playoff run was her destiny, calming the young squad and making those hustle plays that don't hit the stat sheet but decide entire series. And now, against all odds, Indiana is in the WNBA Finals, historic already. But then came the shocker that shook the sports world. Caitlin Clark herself announced she's playing in the finals. Just think about that. The same media that swore her season was over now has to backpedal. The same haters who laughed when she limped off the court now have to watch her step back onto the biggest stage in the game. This isn't just a comeback, it's a power shift. Because when Clark is on the floor, Indiana doesn't just compete. They break records, sell out arenas, and force every opponent to completely rewrite their game plan. And now, she's back right when it matters most. Caitlin Clark changes the geometry of the entire game. Her shooting stretches defenses out to the parking lot. Her vision carves open lanes for Boston and Mitch, and her leadership lifts every single player in a Fever jersey. And now, all of that is backed up. Let's be blunt. The haters are rattled. For months they chirped that the league was bigger than Clark, that she couldn't handle the physicality, and that she wasn't ready for the playoffs. They practically threw a party when she went down injured. But now, they're in shock. Because Clark didn't just come back, she's suiting up in the finals. That's basically dropping a live grenade in the living room of every rival fanbase. And the timing? Brutal for Vegas and New York, the so-called super teams. They were already sweating after Indiana bulldozed through the playoffs without Clark. Now they've got to face a Fever squad that's fearless, battle-tested, and suddenly reloaded with the one player who forces defenses into impossible choices. Even at 80%, Clark is a nightmare. Defenses can't ignore her. Collapse on Boston, and she punishes you. Overhelp on Mitchell, and she's wide open. Every single possession becomes a lose-lose scenario. But it's bigger than X's and O's. It's psychological warfare. Vegas and New York thought they dodged the bullet. They thought Clark was done, out of sight, out of mind. Then Indiana proved they didn't even need her to reach the finals. And now, she's back to finish the job just when teams thought they only had to deal with Boston, Mitchell, and Sims. Boom. Clark is back in the mix. That's demoralizing before the ball even goes up. But here's the twist. This wasn't luck. This was strategy C. Indiana only submitted 11 players for their playoff roster when the league allows 12. At the time, everyone thought it was a mistake or a depth issue. But now, It looks like pure genius. That empty slot was the ultimate insurance policy. It left the door cracked open, and Clark just walked right through it. That's not oversight. That's foresight. The Fever front office never fully ruled her out. They stayed ice cold, let the speculation swirl, and then dropped the ultimate bombshell at the exact perfect moment. That's not just roster management, that's showmanship. Now here's the key detail. Under WNBA rules, once the playoffs start, rosters are locked. No hardship deals, no emergency signings. What you submit is what you're stuck with, unless there's an exception. Players already under contract but listed as inactive, injury, suspension, maternity leave, can be reactivated if a slot is open. And that's the loophole Indiana just exploited. Clark was never gone. She wasn't some free agent swooping in. She was on the Fever's inactive list the whole time, waiting. And now, Indiana just cashed in on one of the boldest gambles in recent playoff history.
Walks there to the stanchion.
Of course, there are risks here. Nobody's pretending groin injuries are easy. They linger, they flare up, and they test conditioning like nothing else. The Fever know they are playing with fire by bringing Clark back. But here's the truth. Even a limited Clark still demands respect. Put her on one leg, and defenses are still guarding her from 25 feet. That kind of gravity alone makes the gamble worth it. And let's be honest, this isn't just Indiana's call. You better believe the league office has fingerprints all over this. The WNBA knows what Clark in the finals means. Ratings, revenue, relevance. This isn't just basketball, it's business. And Clark's return is pure gold. The proof? Social media is already exploding. Practice clips are pulling millions of views, and her comeback announcement outperformed half the league's playoff games. Love her or hate her, everyone is talking about Caitlin Clark, and for a league desperate for attention, that's priceless. But here's the flip side. Clark's return also exposes some uncomfortable truths. Coaches have been cited, or even allegedly lost jobs, for daring to praise her. That says everything about the fragile egos floating around the league. Clark is bigger than the W right now, and it makes people uneasy. Her finals comeback doesn't just spotlight her, it shines a light on the league's insecurities all over again. The Fever, though, they don't care about politics, they care about winning. And with Clark back, their ceiling just blew wide open. Boston has more room to dominate inside. Mitchell can roam freer on the perimeter. Sims doesn't have to shoulder as heavy a load. Even role players like Sophie Cunningham instantly become more dangerous because no defense in the world can cover everyone. That's why opponents are terrified. Indiana already proved they could claw their way to the finals without Clark. And now they are adding back the most impactful player in women's basketball. That's not just scary, it's unfair, and the haters? They are officially out of excuses. For months they said Clark was overhyped, that she couldn't hang with the pros. Well, here she is, suiting up for the finals in just her second year. Not limping in through the back door. Not sitting as a cheerleader. She's playing, competing, redefining the entire series. That it's almost poetic. The same people who spent the entire season downplaying Caitlin Clark's impact now have no choice but to watch her step right back into the spotlight on the grandest stage of them all. And the receipts? Oh, Fever fans are ready to pull all of them out. The real shock isn't just that Clark is coming back, it's the timing. Finals basketball isn't about box scores or pretty plays. It's about handling pressure bigger than your opponent can bear. And Clark, she's been built for this. Since Iowa, she's thrived in the chaos, crowds, cameras, and pressure are just another Tuesday for her. So when you insert that kind of poise into the finals, you're not just adding a shooter or passer, you're adding gravity. Every defender has to glance at her. Every coach has to scheme around her. And every fan has to react the second she's on the floor. That changes the entire environment before she even touches the ball. And for Vegas or New York, confidence just flipped to paranoia overnight. Look at what this means for Indiana's core. Boston, already bullying defenses on the block, suddenly sees single coverage. No more constant doubles. Mitchell finally breathes on the perimeter instead of being trapped every trip down. Sims, she can save energy for pure disruption instead of having to create every possession. That's the kind of ripple effect Clark unleashes that nobody's saying she'll play 35 minutes and drop 40. That's not the point. What matters is that even 20 minutes of Clark shifts the math. Even standing in the corner, she forces defenses to rotate differently. That's why her return feels like a plot twist written for TV. Because it basically is the WNBA is salivating right now. Finals without Clark? Solid storyline. Finals with Clark? A national event. Networks are clearing primetime slots. Broadcasters are prepping graphics. Casual fans who didn't watch a single regular season game are suddenly locked in just to see what happens. And that is what burns the haters most. Her return is bigger than their excuses. And yes, they are already loading up online. She's overrated. She won't be full speed. Indiana will ruin chemistry by forcing her back. But none of that matters once the scoreboard lights up. If Clark makes even a handful of impact plays in these finals, the conversation flips instantly, suddenly. The same critics who called Clark overrated are forced to explain how she just helped Indiana go toe-to-toe with the league's best. But let's be real, there's another side to this coin. If Clark looks rusty, the critics will pounce. If she aggravates the injury, the narrative will be ruthless. That's why this move takes guts. Indiana could have played it safe. Rest her, protect her for next year, and nobody would have questioned it. But they didn't. They chose belief over caution. And that decision says everything about how far this franchise has come. Not long ago, the Fever were the league's punchline: 5-win seasons, empty arenas, wasted lottery picks. That team is gone. This team is bold, fearless, and willing to gamble on greatness. Bringing Clark back isn't desperation, it's pure confidence. They believe they belong here. They believe Clark makes them unstoppable. And honestly, they might be right. Vegas has already shown cracks this postseason. New York is still figuring out chemistry with all those stars. Neither looks invincible. And when you add Clark into Indiana's fight, those super teams suddenly don't look so super anymore. Now let's talk legacy. Even if Clark doesn't dominate, just stepping on that finals court makes history. Think about it. Year 2, already battling injuries, already carrying a franchise, and now making a dramatic comeback on the biggest stage. That's legendary. Fans will remember it. Kids will copy it. And the league will never forget it. And here's the kicker. Clark didn't need this for her reputation. She was already the face of the league. Already selling out arenas. Already breaking ratings records. This isn't about hype or marketing. This is about sending a message. She's not here for attention. She's here to compete, to win, and to rewrite the story of a franchise everyone counted out. That's why the haters are rattled. The comeback they swore would never happen is happening right in front of them, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it.